Hello, friends. I'd like to share with you the story of a realization that I had 21 years ago in Uganda. It's entitled Framing the Kampala Lady. On October afternoon in 2004, when I was on the faculty of a theological college in Uganda, I was riding down a road I commonly traveled. As I looked out the window of the tightly packed matatu, there was a usual throng of pedestrians making their way up and down the road, men, women, and children, almost all of them limited in resources and very modestly clad. Suddenly, for a reason I could not explain, I noticed a tall, slender young woman, about 35 years old, walking southward to my right. She had what appeared to be grocery bags in her hands. Her head was held high as one with purpose, but without any need of special effort or determination. Her gait was even and steady. Her eyes were straight ahead. Then she turned the corner of a building and left my sight. Then suddenly, I realized that I was one of the planet's billions who were at that moment a part of her story, of which she was, of course, the central figure. Since then, I've come to think of it this way. She went from being a woman among many to the woman among the many on that street. The Kampala Lady was a central cast member of her long ago written story. As she turned that corner, I am sure that her heart carried certain aspirations for herself and her loved ones, while also being burdened by certain feelings of resignation caused by blows, both acute and chronic. And there I was, one of the many, near and far away, who were and are and will be cast members in her story. It was a moment of recognition of meaning, her sequence of events, encounters, emotions, and thoughts, and that I, a passerby on that day and a rememberer today, was one of those who watched her or thought about her, while others were oblivious of her, such as those who lived in some dark, isolated place in the Amazon jungle 3,000 years ago. But still, it's unavoidable. I and all who have lived, are living, and will ever live are part of the Kampala Lady's story. No, she didn't think about the man in the van passing by, but she was no less, he was no less a part of her story, and she was a part of his. So why does all this matter? It's because we are living a once-to-be-lived story in which we play a part in the stories of all who are living, have lived, and will live, and they in ours. As we come to a greater awareness of this, we will be moved to give time to framing. I learned about framing in my last visit with Will Mills, a poet of significant distinction, once a writer in residence at the University of North Carolina, a son and brother and cousin of my dear friends, the Mills family of the Plains community in Louisiana. Will, who was dying from cancer, came out of a bedroom in his parents' house for what we knew would be our last time together in this world, and I read some of my poetry to him, who had been such a kind mentor to me. After I read my last poem, Will asked me to raise my hands and use my fingers and thumbs to form a frame and hold it before my eyes. I began to try to do what he told me, but was unsure about how to do it. The Mills family members chipped in to the process of guiding me. They, all being artists, knew exactly where this was going. I then formed the frame before my eyes, and Will said, look at things through this frame. That was in July of 2011. I have since come to realize that all people who see things are framers. Mr. L.A. Hamilton of Ruston, Louisiana, who is the greatest outdoorsman I have ever known, framed everything in the world, in the wild. One day he told me about the lengthy time he spent probing an ant bed out in the woods of Spring Bayou in northeast Louisiana. He expressed his amazement at the workings of the ants. Mr. Ham saw things. He also gained a better, more frequently used frame in looking at people and at God during the days that he treated me like a son when I was a young husband and father. Framing. Thank you, Will. Thank you, Betsy and Wilmer, and all the Mills family. Thank you for teaching me about framing. So what happened on that October day, afternoon in Uganda was this. Unconsciously, I framed the Kampala lady. She was no longer a Kampala lady. She was the Kampala lady. Not long ago, I wrote to friends, as I do every month, and in that letter, I wrote about how Jesus saw a man. Jesus saw a man. Yes, Jesus saw a man, but when you look at the context in John's Gospel, you realize that Jesus saw the man who was in need on that day. Not just one of many, but the one in whose story Jesus was about to become a direct, active participant. Now then, what will this mean for me today? It will mean framing the whole world. It will mean framing every rock and tree and lizard. It will mean framing every human in this world, including that short, stout lady with unkempt hair that I saw just a few years ago as she walked down Perkins Road, just down the way from our house, with grocery bags in each arm. It appeared that she might have been on her way home from her job, or maybe one of her jobs. It was a sunny afternoon as she passed by. I can remember God speaking to my heart that day as I was driving toward that intersection where I could see her. A human being, just like you, Rodney Wood. Don't you ever forget that. I never forgot what he said. There they are, the young businessman sitting impatiently at the traffic light, mouthing vulgar words. The farm boy on his father's Ford tractor that is almost out of fuel. The mother who is holding her newborn child with tears in her eyes on the south side of Dune. The frightened, crying, kidnapped girl who is lying on a dirty bed in Myanmar. The university graduate still searching for a job. The young girl who just played a minor role in her first performance on Broadway. And your elderly neighbor who has lived all alone for so many years and is now watching the news while surrounded by empty chairs in a dimly lit room. To be fully human is to live your story, knowing that every life that is, has been, or will be, is a storied life, inseparable from yours in the great story. I pray and trust that even now, my friend, you are framing the Kampala lady.